crazy angles in the Crazy Ann quilt block are easy to achieve with foundation piecing, and the result is a fun cartwheeling design. To start, print out 4 sets of the paper foundations and cut along the dotted outside lines. Pre-folding back and forth along the solid sew lines will be helpful as you work. Place the pink quarter square triangle over area A1 on the unprinted side of the Unit 1 foundation with the right side up. Fold the foundation back over the patch just to put a crease in the fabric right along the seam line. You can pin or glue the fabric in place to keep it from shifting. Next, align a 4-inch by 6-inch navy print rectangle right sides together along the creased edge of the pink print. Fold the unit, checking to ensure that the navy print patch adequately covers area A2 and there's enough room for seam allowance, and then crease. Flip the unit over and stitch along the sewing line. With the printed side of the foundation facing up, sew right along the line. When foundation piecing, shorten your stitch length to about 1.5. This will help perforate the paper, making it easier to remove later. Open up the navy print to make sure everything adequately covers area A2. And then, with the unit folded over, trim the seam allowance to a neat 1/4 inch. Press the fabric open. Align a 2-inch by 4-inch cream print rectangle over area A3, right side down, and fold over along the sewing line to ensure A3 is adequately covered. Then crease the fabric along the seam line. With the printed side of the foundation facing up, sew along the stitch line. Fold the foundation back and trim to create a neat 1/4 inch seam allowance. Press the cream print open. Align a 2-inch by 4-inch blue print rectangle over area A4, right side down, and fold over to ensure the area is adequately covered and that you have enough room for seam allowance. With the printed side of the foundation facing up, sew along the stitch line. Open up the blueprint to make sure everything adequately covers area A4. And then fold the fabric and foundation back and trim the seam allowance to a neat 1/4 inch. Press the blueprint open. Trim the unit along the outside cutting line to neaten it. Create 4 of Unit 1 in this manner. Repeat this process for Unit 2, following the instructions for which color to place where. Once Unit 2 is completely sewn, turn the unit over and trim along the outside cutting line. Lay out the pieces in an alternating manner to create a pinwheel. Leave the foundation papers in place and sew the units together in pairs. Sew along the stitch line. To open the unit, tear away the paper in the seam allowance. And then remove some of the paper from the center of the units to eliminate bulk, leaving the unsewn edges of the paper intact. Press the unit open, letting the seam allowance fall toward Unit 2. Repeat this process for the remaining 3 pairs. Join the pairs into rows, and then sew the rows together to create the block. Once everything is sewn, remove the papers from the seam allowances first, and then remove the remaining papers from the now complete block. This makes one 12-inch Crazy Ann quilt block. Sew several blocks together to see a crazy secondary design emerge.